Hola, hola guapetones.
Hoy os traemos el vídeo de
Vivir en México cambió la vida
de esta familia canadiense.
Chicos, tenéis el canal del creador Moving to Mexico abajito en la descripción y pues hace contenido de personas, de familias.
I've been living here in Bucerias now for 7 years with my husband and my dog and my cat. We are originally from Regina, Saskatchewan in Canada, so we're most grateful to be out of the winter during this wonderful time of year. All of my life, I've worked in the nonprofit sector. I mostly worked in the area of sport. I worked for the sport of diving and the sport of gymnastics in the admin office, and in fact, I actually still do that. I still am executive director for the sport of diving in my province, so I still work from a distance to make sure I can fund my taco habit. Like everybody, we just fell in love with being here, and we fell in love with that feeling you get when you get off the airplane and you're in the airport and there's that smell. Eventually, we kind of started thinking maybe if we lived here, we would always feel like this. You know, we would always feel like we were on vacation, which, you know, was dumb. We just decided when our kids left home, we're going to move to Mexico. And so we moved down, and we had always loved Bucerias. So we actually had bought a piece of land. We planned to build a house. My husband was in the construction industry, so we were going to, you know, build houses in Bucerias, and that just never happened. We just ended up doing other things, but we just fell in love with the place, and we've been here for 7 years.
Wow,
we just love the restaurants here. We love wandering around Plaza. We love the people we ran into, and slowly we began to move on to the other side of the highway and fell in love with the Mexican people that we met. Everything really changed for us when COVID-19 hit, as it did for everybody in the world, of course. We had just started, like a few months before that, maybe a year before that, a golf cart rental business. One day we had all our carts rented, and the next day we were getting calls from all of our clients that they were going to the airport, they had to go home. Could we come and pick up the cart? But a number of them said to us, our fridge is full of food, could you do something with it? And because we had worked in the community prior with some folks, we knew a number of families or communities that could really use the food that was in these condos. So we went, gathered up whatever was left over, and began to distribute it to people we knew that would be in need. And as we did that, it just was like, whoa. Instantly, it was emergency, right? Like if you were a beach vendor, hotel worker, you were instantly out of work. And it was like end of March, early April, I think. So they weren't prepared for that yet. They were expecting high season for another couple months. And so people were instantly in emergency. And as we delivered this little bit of food, people were saying to us, do you have more? My neighbors need it as well. And so I right away contacted some of my family, my church back in Canada. I said, we're seeing a need here, can you send us some money? And so people were really instantly, you know, on it. And so we gathered up some friends, got a bunch of money, got our golf carts, and my husband and myself and our friend Francisco started going shopping and giving out bags of food.
Qué bonito.
Gran.
We went up into a community not far from where we are right now, and we stopped to hand it out to this one family, and within 5 or 10 minutes, we had like almost 100 people who had gathered around our golf cart for food. And we had enough for maybe 20. And at that time, the government and the police were saying like no gatherings of any kind. I knew one guy had been arrested for doing what we were doing in that moment, for gathering crowds. So we're like, please, we can't do this. But people were begging us for food. And so we, as fast as we could, wrote down like 100 names and said, we'll come back on Wednesday. And as we drove away, we could see we were coming from like down the streets, like they'd been phoning their friends and their neighbors, and like, we just realized like, oh my gosh, like we've promised food to 100 people, we don't have it, and then there's hundreds more waiting. So right away we decided we have to be smart about this. We're not just gonna stop in the street and get mobbed. And so we began to gather names, and we began to put it in a database. We began to send out text messages to people. We've set up a WhatsApp group and began to ask like actual vetting questions, like how many children do you have? Who's working in your home? What's your situation? How much rent do you pay? How much do you earn? And we started gathering all this data.
Para hacerlo todo justo y equitativo,
so over the next year, we got more of our golf carts involved, more volunteers. We're every single day, Monday to Friday for the next year. We delivered like over 5,000 bags of food and to 1,500 families. Some of them every 2 weeks, some of them every 3 weeks, depending on the information we had on them. You know, when we were delivering food, we would deliver a bag, and the next day, you know, they'd call us over, come, and they would have made something out of the bag to share with me and my husband, you know, like they would have made some tamales with the chicken we gave them, and they'd want to, and I'd be like, no, you know, but it was important to them to share, and so we've just really created great relationships by this sharing, and we got to know people, right, and we got to know like more than half of them, probably 2/3 of people we met were single moms, lots and lots of children. We started giving out food to pets. We were driving around with bags of dog food as well. As the year went on, we just began to realize like, this is never going to end. Like we can deliver food to people for the rest of eternity, really. And that's not really solving any long-term problems. And so we began to think like, what is the actual permanent solution to some of the needs we were seeing? We became friends with a lot of them. We began to talk, like, what do you actually need? Like, I know you are eating what we're bringing you, but what do you actually need? And after the end of that first year, things began to lift a little bit here, so that people were back at their taco stands. Some of them were back on the beach. And we began to realize like a lot of the moms were either couldn't work because they had children, or they were locking their children in the house so they could go to work. That was the biggest need we saw. Single moms needed someone to look after their kids so they could get back to work. And so we said, like, how can we do that? And one day we were out delivering and we came upon this building. A young couple had started building this house, and when the husband died, his wife wasn't able to finish it. So she had rented it out, and the people she had rented it to had completely trashed it. So there was not a wire left, there was not a plumbing pipe left, the windows and doors were gone. It was literally a square cement shell. And she was willing to rent it to us for $100 a month. So we can do that. We can set up some kind of a food distribution center, childcare center in this building. In February, I got a phone call from Bruce Piggott, who owned a restaurant in Bucerias. He owned Tequila Gardens. And he said, we're thinking of closing down the restaurant, our lease is up. I would like to donate our entire kitchen to whatever you're planning. And at that point, I didn't know what we were planning. I just knew we had this building, right? And we had this giant kitchen that was empty, and he offered us a kitchen. So his kitchen was a complete, quite new commercial kitchen. He said, you can have all the tables, all the chairs, all the dishes we have here in the restaurant, all the equipment, fridges, the stove, everything. But he said, but you have to have it out February 28th. That's when my lease is up. And like, well, we're not ready, but I'm not gonna say no to this, obviously. So we just put ourselves to work fast. And on February 28th, we brought this kitchen over. And a lot of people said to me, that kitchen will never fit in your kitchen, like all that equipment. And when we brought it in that day, I'm not kidding you, it fit within an inch. Like it exactly fit our space. And the tables, the chairs, everything exactly were what we needed. But we had no children, we had no program. We just had a kitchen and a building. And then we got a call that somebody knew somebody had heard some children's voices on a construction site. And they thought they might need help. So we went over and visited these parents and said, we're opening a children's shelter, a day shelter. Can we help you? And they were just like, please, please, please. Our children, like, they were living on a construction site under a tarp, so it really was not a very safe environment. And we were not ready, but we had a kitchen, and we had one room. And so April 1st, we opened our doors to 4 little girls. And then it just snowballed very quickly. We had instantly had more people coming to our door, will you help our children? We need help. And within months, we were full of children. We realized all of these children hadn't been to school in 2 years. Like they either had never been to school or because of COVID, no school. And a child is our top job. Our top job description is hugs and love. It's been like every single day almost there's a miracle. Like honestly, like miracles. Like near the beginning we had I think 6 or 8 girls at the start. And I remember saying...
Disculpen por parar. Por primera vez veo que no es simplemente los mexicanos van a Estados Unidos o a Canadá y hacen la vida mejor de muchos canadienses y muchos gringos, sino que en este caso es por primera vez que veo que una familia canadiense ayuda tanto a muchas familias mexicanas, detectando pues los problemas que hay en ese punto concreto y haciendo pues yo creo que historia. Esto es manera de agradecer a México, y algunos en vez de eso, gringos y canadienses de hecho, pues insultando a México y tal, pero no tío, o sea, esto es lo que tienes que hacer.
Dar y recibir, porque al final México te da mucho. Seguramente se quedó en México también por muchísimas razones, no solamente por esta, y es como devolverle a México todo lo que le está dando.
Esto sí que es aportar al país, tío.
A mí me está conmoviendo porque al final no solamente es lo que ha dicho, ¿no? Es muy fácil dar comida y decir te doy comida y te solucionas el problema. Pero el problema era mucho mayor. Para que en esa familia las cosas fueran mejor, la mayoría de madres tenían que trabajar y los niños necesitaban una educación. O sea, me parece precioso y me está tocando el alma, ¿eh?
Oh my gosh, we have all these girls' toys. Like, what if a boy comes? We'll have no toys for boys. And like that day, a lady drives up, pulls up her trunk, and it's full of boys' toys. I'm like, oh, I was just talking about that today. And then sure enough, that next week, a bunch of boys' moms came with boys. And so we were ready for boys, you know? I've had experiences like over and over where I'll just say like stupid things like, oh, if we had a glue gun, we could do this craft. And then that day, someone brings me a glue gun. We have a guy that came and says, I want to lead your kids in exercise. So they all went outside in bare feet. And I said, none of our kids have running shoes. And like that day, someone pulled up with bags and bags of running shoes, and they fit every kid we have. So every week we see God just providing what we need, both financially like money-wise, people, donations, just whatever we need has appeared, just like weirdly. Whatever you believe, I believe God sends it. We have lots of volunteers, some who come and weed our garden or mow the lawn, but also take the kids out for walks. Or even up to a year ago, we had 0 children who could read. Out of 27 children, not 1 could read. And now most of our children can read, more than half for sure can read. And so to come and just sit upstairs with a book and let them read to you is really, really helpful. To help do homework is valuable. Even if your Spanish isn't that great, you can still let a child read to you. Come and play a board game with a child is helpful. So those are ways that you can help through here. But don't be afraid just to go out and talk to the people in the community and buy what they're selling. Don't be afraid to try the little gelatinas that are sitting on a table or the big jugs of juice that are sitting on a table. Don't be scared to try all that stuff. It's probably good. If the mom's selling tamales on the side of the road, buy them. The government built that beautiful basketball court right before COVID. And then they closed it. It never opened due to COVID for like a year and a half. And about the time we opened this building, they opened the basketball court for the community. And I don't know, within a month or 2, it was trashed. All the fences were stolen, the lights were stolen, the toilets were stolen, it was trashed. But the pickleballers came around, they were looking for a place to play, and they said, is there a way we could make this work? So us and the pickleball group met with the government and said, listen, how about if we put it all back together and we use it for the pickleball group and we use it for us, and the community can also use it, but we'll maintain it and we'll oversee the use of it. They said, sure, we're not planning to fix it up. The pickleball group spent a fair bit of money, like a lot of money, put it all back together. They use it now every morning, and as part of the partnership, we don't get rent or anything, but they raise funds for us. And amongst their group, they pay fees, and some of that they send to us, and they raise money, and they go around the community to raise money. And our kids go over from time to time and hang out with them and sing with them, and it's a really cool partnership. And then what I like is that we're going to set up a little store over there in the one little room they have, and a couple of our moms are going to sell baked goods and drinks and coffee, and we're going to make it as a bit of a business for our moms, for them to buy things. And so we're kind of expanding it to work for everybody. We cry a lot. We cry a lot here. There's a lot of tears because we are so proud of what our teachers have done with our kids. I mean, when I walk in the door, it doesn't matter how bad a day you've had, when 25 kids run up for a hug every single morning, you can't not feel good about life, right? But you also cry. Yesterday one walked in and she just said, I have to sleep. She's 4 or 5. I need to sleep. And then I found out the family's been going through trauma. She hadn't slept literally in 3 nights because of family issues. So I'm able to put her in my office under a little blanket and she goes to sleep. And it's just this is their safe place. And they know that. And, they're all my grandchildren for sure. And we just are a very loving community. And our staff, we talk all the time about, the main thing is to love these kids, to show them God's love, to just really let them know that, life is hard, but there's all kinds of opportunities, and if you go to school, we're going to help you get this job. We're talking to lots of them about what they're going to be when they grow up, and some of them, I don't know if they'll make it through school, but we're talking to them about what if we help you learn how to do nails, or what if we help you learn how to do construction, and we're just trying to put some kind of dream in a life that's just so hard, and to their moms too, what can your child be someday? And we just want to put that within people that, yes, life is hard, but you have so many opportunities now. Every day they will know they're safe, that they are loved, and we are going to be with them as they go forward into whatever their future looks like. We are not going to give up on any one of them. This is their refuge of hope.
Joder.
Dios. Hasta aquí, familia. Sinceramente, como he dicho, este vídeo me ha tocado en lo más fondo del corazón. Al final, como bien sabéis, yo me dedico, mi profesión es educación infantil, me encantan los niños y creo que un niño es lo más valioso que tiene la vida, y que si un niño no tiene educación es muy difícil que el futuro del mundo pues sea positivo, ¿no? En este sentido, creo que Karen está haciendo un trabajo excelente, que obviamente está devolviendo a México toda la felicidad que le dio cuando ella llegó a México.
Para veranear, para vacacionar, y pues ahora ella se dedica.
Se quedó y les dio una vida a estos niños que la merecen, y la abrazaría, con todas mis fuerzas, porque de verdad que me parece precioso, y que ojalá en todas las partes de México tengan esta oportunidad como la que ha hecho Karen, ¿no?
Una historia conmovedora donde por fin vemos a, canadienses o gringos aportar a México y no solo quejarse de ellos y decir, no, es que ustedes solo vienen, no sé qué. Oye, chicos, también hay canadienses que se van a México y pues en este caso van a aportar. Maravillado vídeo, me ha dejado sin palabras. No sé, por favor, opinen ustedes, ya sabéis, si os gustó el vídeo, dejen por favor
un buen like,
suscríbanse
y nos vemos
en el próximo vídeo.